This is it right here.
Combining a team of reporters, columnists, and commentators.
Don't you ever talk about me!
Are you serious?
Jack Ebling has brought thought-provoking discussion.
What are you doing?
That's a damn coaching mistake!
Opinion.
The customer is the one who decides when the future gets here.
Oh, no!
The ship is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me?
That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done?
Crazy Cooter coming at you.
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again.
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Great afternoon, Greater Lansing and beyond. Welcome to The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here in studio with my producer, Boston Rob. Rob, a sweltering Thursday afternoon, 93 again. So for those who like it hot, and I'm one of them, I guess I got what I wished for. We have tons to talk about today and a very busy show. 7 guests in the next 2 hours. We want to start with Tony Garcia of the Detroit Free Press. He is the newlywed of this group. Rob, how many years of marriage for you?
It'll be 22nd wedding anniversary on July 28th.
And I am coming up on 51, if I can make it another 50 days. Tony, being a married man now, how's your life changed?
I was going to say, I might be coming up on 51 days, fellas. Good to talk to you. I am currently on my honeymoon, though, so that makes me feel more like a part of the club. I am coming to you poolside from Riviera Maya, eating some chips and guac and a prosciutto pizza. So life's all right.
We say we are their sports radio, Rob. I didn't mean it quite this way, but this is fantastic that Tony can join us. And the last time we spoke with you last week, Tony, you were doing double duty, talking with us and covering a Board of Regents meeting. How'd that wind up?
Pretty good. I think, we had a little bit of clarity on sort of the budget for the next year, which I think I might have got to you was approaching $300 million for the athletic department, which is exorbitant, but as they do in today's era, we got a little bit of, I talked to a couple people, I don't know, I probably shouldn't even be beginning to discuss it, but perhaps we could be getting some resolution or a little bit of clarity on some of the athletic department investigation shortly-ish. Time frame I was not given, but that could be, I wouldn't be surprised if that's coming up sometime this summer. And that was the majority. And then I think the other notable part was Domenico Grasso, Michigan's president, discussing just sort of the nature of college sports and how Dusty May addressed that as part of the reason that he left. And so, it cuts both ways, right? It's obviously Dusty used it fabulously while he was here. And that doesn't mean he wasn't. That doesn't mean that he wasn't ready to be a part of it. But it can mean that it was too much on a 365 basis to be a part of it consistently. And so I think obviously he did fabulously in his 2 years. He did everything he needed to do. But the wear and tear coming down the pike, he felt was too much. He said as much in his interviews with the Dallas Mavericks, and here Morris Johnson Jr. is, which he said was not his selection. Not that he said he wouldn't have selected him, but he said that it was not his sole input, and he's not the reason they were taking Morez. So I'll take that at face value. And nothing major, but a few tidbits coming out.
When he said that Morris Johnson Jr. was not his decision, does that take him off the hook with Yaxel Lendeborg, who said he was going to block him if he didn't get taken by Dallas?
That's right. I think maybe a little bit of damage control. But I think he was also reassuring probably the Dallas fans, which is understandable, that, hey, this is not, I'm not just coming here under the guise and under the, mandate that, hey, you must take my guy or else.
Yeah.
It's that there were others in the front office who felt that he was worthy and they saw his future potential and that there was a bit of a consensus. I mean, certainly, the way Dusty raved about Merez during the past year, he was in Ann Arbor and I was covering both the player and the coach.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they would say, one of the things that he and the coaches would talk about in the huddle is say, hey, we have Merez and they don't, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, he talked about even in the summer, Rez got hurt for a week or two. Minor injury obviously didn't matter in the season, but he talked, and this was September, October. He was talking about how, and meaning before they had all the success that they had, and this was not any sort of revisionist history. He talked about how the practice didn't have the same juice, it didn't have the same tempo, didn't have the same life, and that's something that evidently everybody in Dallas really valued, and so there was an obvious fit there. Certainly, Dusty was not going to put up any stop signs if others in the front office wanted him, and it sounds like they did.
You said that there should be some, or could be some, announcement regarding the investigation, a very expensive inquiry, could be coming up even sometime this summer. Would you guess that they would like to have it done before football season?
I'm almost out of the guessing game at this point, Jack. I remember it was back in January when I was talking to people who are certainly in the know about most major decisions, and this was supposed to be a 1 or 2 month thing, right? We're going on, it's now July, so we're going on month 7. I would imagine that they would want to be done with it before football season, but also there was no assurances. I know that some people who need to know have been told about certain things. There is a chance that there may or may not be some sort of 15-page report that could or cannot be coming. There's just it's a bit of gray area, and so again, if I wasn't on my honeymoon, I would be doing more digging. I'm not trying to lead people astray, but I am just. It's the summer, and that doesn't mean that work doesn't exist, but I am still a human, and I am out of the country, and so, even still, I wrote a couple of recruiting stories this week, and I couldn't fully get away, even though I promised myself and my wife I would fully get away, and so, it's all coming, and the questions will be asked, and, I assure you I'm as curious as the next guy, probably more so about what was or was not found. Both are equally pertinent.
We know that the University of Michigan will have a first-year head football coach in Kyle Whittingham. We know that they will have a first-year basketball coach, I believe still an interim, right? Mike Boynton, as that tag hasn't been lifted. They're going to have a new president once the search is over. They thought they were done with that. Domenico Grasso filling in, but he's not there for the long haul, certainly. And it's possible, once this investigation is released, that Michigan could have new people in all 4 positions. Tony, has that happened at any Big Ten school, to your knowledge, same year?
I haven't done the deep dive into that. I feel like the easy answer is probably no, right? Football, basketball, AD, president. I'm not ready to jump the gun and say that there will be a new athletic director. I'm not saying that it's out of the question, but I feel. All right. Here's one more thing I was told. It was a few months back. Is that they had gotten the report. It was not glowing, but there was no quote smoking gun. That was what I was told by one person. This was not multiple people, and I talked to multiple people, so I have to take it for what it's worth. And so I'm just not sure what's going to happen. I know that there are questions about his ability to keep coaches off of national championships. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh and now Dusty May. There's been other questions. We've discussed them almost ad nauseum with the NCAA investigations, with the Mel Pearson hockey situation, with the Wilmer Hale report, with numerous sanctions and firings and probations within the football department. But For the large part, the department has been running at a surplus. There's been a ton of winning across all the major sports, and I mean, what I always try to remind people is that's not nothing, right? Like, people think it's a given because it's Michigan, you should be winning, but I mean, in the 75 years prior, or the 70 years prior to 2020, January of 24, when Michigan won the National Football Championship, there was half of a football championship and one basketball championship. I shouldn't say half, a share, right, when it was the AP BCS situation in 97. And in the last 30 months, there have been 2. Yeah. So,
no question,
in 30 months as there was in 70 years.
The question is, are they due to Ward Manuel, or was he a passenger in the back seat? When you talk about Michigan again, Tony, I would say Don Canham ranks among the top 3 athletic directors of all time. If you look at what his impact was, some of his ideas, the way he was able to bring them to fruition, and certainly bringing Bo Schembechler in, even if he kind of stumbled into that. Then you think about the leaders and best and that mantra. If the best thing you can say about someone who is running a $300 million department is not glowing, but no smoking gun, is that what Michigan aspires to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole timeline would be different had Kent Severud, who was the incoming president, who was a former chancellor of Syracuse. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, it's just a really tremendously sad personal situation with his health that prevented him from taking over the mantle. I think had that all played out, there would have been a decision. I don't know if by now, but there would have been a decision one way or the other, and you would have had more clarity going towards the future about the leader of the athletic department. But from what I was told, I mean, Domenico Grasso, now he has been, the interim tag has been lifted on him as president, but he is not the long-term president. There is another search ongoing. Yeah. There will be future leadership changes, and I think he does not want to be the one to make the call one way or the other to lock Ward Manuel in and say he's cleared and exonerated, or to lambaste him and say you're fired and we need a new athletic director. I just don't think that. Certainly, when he took over, came from Dearborn and was the interim for what was supposed to be 8 to 9 months. That was not the plan, and so that changes things. And no, I mean, it's not I agree with you. It's not a glowing review if the best you can say is that there's no smoking gun. But excuse me. But also, if let's operate under the notion that is the case, right? That this person who had seen the report, who had been briefed on the report, said there was no overwhelming evidence to essentially fire Ward Manuel. Then I don't think you do. I mean, I think everybody has had. I mean, there's been plenty of reason, right? Or there's been a lengthy list that has been discussed on this show, on many a show, public discourse that, hey, this might not be the guy for Michigan. And I'm not here to discredit that argument, but there at the same token, with the amount of success that has been had. And with the fact that if none of these situations were enough in and of themselves, as the powers that be felt to make a move, if there's nothing overwhelming in this report, I'm not saying there is or isn't. I'm saying one individual told me that there was no smoking gun, meaning major red flag situation. And if that is the case, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan didn't make a move.
I'm a little surprised by that. Just to say that unless you've committed felonies or whatever, that you're probably safe. I'm looking at Michigan's history, and Bump Elliott, who had won a Rose Bowl, something Bo Schembechler couldn't do for more than a decade, and was coming off an 8-2 season, was fired by Don Canham. We know of other situations in football. We know that in basketball, maybe coaches left just before they were shown the door. I can think a couple of situations like that. And if your goal is to be the best you can be, and we know how good Michigan can be, I would be surprised if it settled. But I can certainly see what you're saying with Domenico Grasso not wanting to be the one to make that decision. And so in that case, is Ward Manuel safe until there's a full-time president? Not that Grasso isn't, but until a long-term president is selected. Is he safe?
I would say, and this is me speaking, it feels that way, but with news the college news landscape and college sports in general is so fluid, and I don't mean to give a milquetoast take of anything, but saying anything is solidified in this day and this age. Right. Things can change on a dime. You've heard Mike Boynton, Trey McKenney, the coach. Ward Manuel, the athletic director, the coach, now in acting, and probably one of the premier players, top two players returning to Michigan, all said they did not know that the coach was leaving. This is not just a media sticking their head in the sand situation at all. Things can change rapidly, and so I have not seen the report, and so until I see the report, I can't say he should be. This is way too far gone. He absolutely should be gone, or hey, this is not as bad as what the court of public opinion has believed it to be, and I think he's safe. What I'm saying is that right now it does not seem as though there is any imminent reason to believe that he will be gone. Certainly before this football season, unless something drastic changes.
I guess I would consider it an indictment of his relationship with coaches, with the way he was running the department, that he found out about Dusty May leaving the same time we did, that he didn't even get a phone call on Sunday night. Is that correct?
Yeah, from what I understand, that he did not get a phone call on Sunday night. He was going in on Monday morning. I think, and that's fair. I am not here to hold the shield of Ward Manuel. I'm not here to defend that, and I think there should be more transparency between the layers, right? Yeah. But I think if people who Dusty happened to be personally closer with, say others, and I'm not going to mention anybody by name, but let's say he was on former staffs with them. Let's say he was the one who directly hired them to his staff. If they did not know either, this felt optically, this felt like an extremely, extremely personal decision for Dusty May. Yeah. And again, I'm not here to say that Dusty May and I were best friends. I think we had a wonderful working relationship.
We did try to help you move, right?
I knew that was coming. That's right. I had sat down with him 4 days prior, Wednesday afternoon, and then Sunday night he makes his decision. Right. And I did not. And of course, now hindsight is always 20/20. And I mentioned the Mavs, and I think I've said that on this show specifically, courting him, and he was pushing it off. He was not really giving a ton of direct answers. And of course, now I wish I had said, if the Mavs offer you the job, what would you have said? Yeah. Of course, now I wish I had asked that specifically direct question. I don't want to say danced around it, because that sounds like I was afraid to ask that question. But I was discussing just how the Magic had interest in him. We heard the Pelicans had interest in him. We heard the Mavs now had interest in him. What is it like fielding these calls, knowing that you are essentially the hottest name in coaching circles, and how do you handle it? And he passed it off as sort of media generated. There was no sense, or I did not have any understanding that in 96 hours I was going to be publishing my story that I'd written just in case that Dusty May had taken the job.
I don't think he knew. In fact, I know he didn't know, because at that point the Mavs hadn't decided on Dusty May. They had zeroed in on John Shire. That was he was their first choice. And when that didn't work, that the offer to Dusty May, who was a fallback, didn't come until Saturday night, and then if he spent much of the day Sunday contemplating. But if I were the athletic director, Tony, I'd be pissed if a decision was made and released somewhere else, and a guy slept on it, and then I was going to be told with everybody else. I would just look at the relationship a little differently. Tony, I'm going to let you get back to honeymooning. Have a great time there. Won't be long that we will be in Chicago, right, for day 3 of the Big Ten kickoff meetings. Are you going to be there for more than one day, or are you just coming in for day 3?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be arriving on Wednesday, so day 2. I don't know if I'll make it to the meetings. I'm there for Michigan. Can I ask you, Jack, where are you staying?
That is a great question. Because I'm
looking. These Marriotts are getting out of hand.
Way out of hand.
I'll tell you right now.
Way out of hand.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of a music festival there, which is really jacked up all the prices. And I was going to stay somewhere else, and then I said, no, I guess I'll go back and stay at the Media Hotel, and then the reservations for that have closed. So you can't stay at the Media Hotel. So I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me know next week. Yeah, I think that is Lollapalooza weekend.
Yes.
And I mean, when I lived in Chicago, I mean it's an absolute circus.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful for the city. I guess there was no consideration for us who needed to get in and get out for a couple days.
Yeah.
Because these were looking like weekend prices on a Wednesday, Thursday. I'll let you go.
Sounds
but
good.
I wanted to know if you had any insider trading info that you could share to me.
No, I wish I did.
You can text me offline.
I will. All right. Tony Garcia from the Detroit Free Press. When we get back, we're going to talk with Vince Nystrom. And, Rob, he does tons of research. He loves to do spreadsheet research. And he has 3 projects he's going to share with us now having to do with Big Ten basketball scheduling, who gets a break, who gets the short end of the stick, about football programs, which have been overachieving, which have been underachieving, and which coaches in the last 70-plus years have had the greatest impact, the greatest turnaround positively, and the greatest plunge when they took over. We'll be right back on The Drive with Jack. Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Spring is here, and so is good news for lease customers.
You got that right, Jack. Pretty exciting news, both at Nissan and Chevy. We have a lease pull ahead starting right now. So if you're bored with your lease, too many miles, close to too many miles, you just want to get out because of a high payment, bring it in. We'll get you out of your lease and get you into something more exciting.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Jeremy, I gotta ask, how do you always know where to go on the weekends?
Easy. One North. It's basically my cheat code.
What's going on there?
Live music every Friday and Saturday night, DJ trivia during the week. There's always something happening, Jack.
So I don't have to keep texting you for plans?
Nope. Just follow all 3 One North locations on social media. Lineups, times, everything's right there.
That might actually simplify my life.
That's the goal. When you're looking for something to do, One North's the move.
All right. See you there this weekend.
Are you passionate about college sports? Foster Swift Sports Talk is your go-to podcast dedicated to addressing the hottest topics in college athletics, including recruiting practices, NIL, the trade portal, collectives, and revenue generation.
Join us as we bring you insights from student athletes, college head coaches, administrators, and other industry leaders as they share their experiences in this rapidly changing arena.
Our mission is to share information and help educate student athletes, parents, coaches, and other stakeholders with the knowledge, resources, and strategies they need to make informed decisions and maximize each college athlete's potential for long-term success.
Check out our latest episode where we're joined by Stephen Bianco to discuss his work at 42U and working with universities around the country.
Like and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook pages to watch all of our episodes, or you can give us a listen on any of your favorite podcasting platforms by simply searching Foster Swift Sports Talk. Until next time, I'm your host, Dave Russell.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, Spotlight Radio Network. And Jack Ebling here with my producer, Boston Rob. Rob, let's go right back to our guest line. Very happy to welcome in Vince Nystrom. He has a very important project he is working on now, having to do with the way that high school sports are covered and the availability of that. We'll talk more about that in the very near future. But you have so many things that you are working on in terms of data collection. Vince, starting with the Big Ten basketball schedule. And you have looked at which teams have the toughest road and which might get a break. Which team has the toughest Big Ten schedule according to all of your analysis?
Jack, it is unfortunately Michigan State by far. So this reminds me, you've got to go back 20 years to when I think Michigan State really got a rough schedule. This was Drew Neitzel's junior and senior year when they played, those bottom four teams only once and scraped by at 8-8 to get into the tournament. And this year looks to be right around that tough. And I can dive into more details unless you have some thoughts on that one.
I would like to hear your rationale for that, because they do play Michigan twice. And unless you're playing Michigan State, Michigan, or Illinois twice, that's something there that would make it difficult. Just the fact that you have games against them and other schools don't. Michigan State also has single plays against all the teams except Nebraska and Maryland. And I don't know if Maryland, having a two-play with Maryland, that would probably be considered a positive. But who would be behind Michigan State, and by how much? Who would have the second toughest schedule?
Yes, the second toughest schedule out there is Iowa, followed by Ohio State, Northwestern, Washington. A lot of fans on here, a lot of Michigan listeners, they come in around 11th, so they're middle of the road.
Okay.
The easiest schedule is Indiana, followed by Illinois. So Illinois, if you were a gambler, Illinois really looks like this could be the year for them. Not only are they ranked number one by the 10 different polls that I use to average all this together, but then they have the second easiest schedule. And the best way to look at this, Jack, is really two variables, right? Who you have to play twice, and you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And then what are the one plays that you have to play on the road?
Oh, yeah.
And that's where MSU has the hardest schedule. They have to play by far the toughest teams on the road, and then their two plays are third worst. So it's kind of right in that spectrum, depending on how you want to look at it.
So Michigan State plays in Champaign, correct? And
at Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other places Michigan State plays and teams that do not come to Breslin Center would be?
Indiana, UCLA, Ohio State, USC, Iowa, and then Northwestern. And that's in order of tough. The one that really jumps out is if you look at their home schedule.
Yeah.
So they play Penn State, Washington, Rutgers, Minnesota. That's in the average of the preseason polls, which, again, you're only as good as these preseason polls.
Right.
18, 17, 16, and 15. So they play the four preseason average worst teams at home. And then after that, you've got Oregon 12, Wisconsin 11, Purdue 4. So really the only team they get at home that is ranked in the top half of the Big Ten is Purdue, other than the teams they have to play twice.
Right.
And Michigan and Nebraska are 2 and 8, respectively.
And Purdue expects to take a step back without all the seniors they had last year, and their name, image, and likeness budget has shrunk considerably. So that is interesting. And as you have done this in other years, Vince, has this kind of analysis held up throughout the season? Have you seen that, hey, that really was the reason the team finished where it did?
For Michigan State, Jack, it really has. And a lot of it depends on how many teams, and we'll see what this new schedule rotation where you miss so many teams, what that relationship is. But there was a point many years back when Michigan State, they only played 16 Big Ten games, so they were missing a big portion of those one plays.
Yeah.
And I've sent you the chart before. There was a really striking correlation between the teams that they didn't get to play and then what the record was. Obviously the teams that you don't get to play, you want them to have, the worst record possible or vice versa, in that space. But there was definitely a correlation from MSU. It's hard to do the other teams because MSU's been the most consistent over 30 years. So the other ones, their wins and losses will vary based on the strength of their team.
You did exhaustive research here on turnarounds, positively and negatively, when new coaches come in college football. And I have a story for you about the number one guy on this list, and he's number one by quite a bit. If you remember, Michigan State director of athletics, they called him athletic director then, Doug Weaver, right? And he had been a head coach in the then Big Eight. And when you are in Kansas State, Kansas, you know what that's like. And he said one time, hey, you want to find out how good a coach you are? Go coach in Manhattan, Kansas, and come back and see me. And Doug was actually hung in effigy, while he was a coach at that point, a head coach. And the guy who is number one on this list by a lot, probably the greatest miracle worker of taking the worst program in the country in Curt Cignetti-like fashion and turning it into a consistent factor and team that had some shots at a national championship. You want to tell us about Bill Snyder?
Yeah, so, Bill Snyder, when he took over Kansas State, to your point, now this is a tough analysis, right, Jack? Because if you look at, let's say use Ryan Day for an example, right?
Yes.
Ryan Day has an almost impossible way of scoring high on this because it's really comparing to what the 4 years were previously when you took over. That's the analysis.
It's improvement.
So, yep, exactly. It's the improvement from what you took over. So if you take over a great team, you really only have anywhere to go is down.
Right.
But so Bill Snyder took over. The previous win percentage of those 4 years was 7%. They'd gone 3-40 the previous 4 years. But he built them up to, he won 2/3 of his games at Kansas State for an improvement of roughly 60%.
Yeah.
That's almost 10% better than the next head coach, which was Bobby Bowden, who took over Florida State back in 1976. And moved them from 25%. It's hard to imagine thinking Florida State as a 25% program given where they've been the last 50 years. But then Bowden took it up to 76, and he's number two. So it's a pretty interesting look as you see who's really built programs.
When you talk about the coaches who are 2, 3, and 4 on this list, pretty amazing success. Obviously, they're all Hall of Famers, some of the best coaches ever. But you don't think of Florida State being down. You don't think of Notre Dame being down for as long as it was in the 50s and 60s until Ara Parseghian arrived from Northwestern. And you don't think of Nebraska being down until Biggie Munn, Duffy Daugherty protege Bob Devaney came in from Wyoming, where he had been kind of assigned by Duffy Daugherty. Duffy used to say, you're going here, you're taking that job. He was running a placement bureau at Jennison Fieldhouse. And Devaney went in there and turned everything around at Nebraska, including back-to-back national championships. But they're still quite a ways behind Bill Snyder, Vince.
Yes, they are. Yep, a full 10% behind Bill Snyder. He's had just an amazing turnaround. And, not only did it once, but went back and did it a second time.
So with what Cignetti has done, and Indiana was the worst major college football program of all time It was 1/3. It would be 136 out of 136. Even now, after the last 2 years, I think it's 128 out of 136. But for him to come in and have the first 16-0 season in college football history, I remember 2 years ago, the Big Ten kickoff meetings, everyone was laughing at him. How much data do you need before that work would show up on the list?
Yeah, I could run that number. What I looked at, though, was really a coach that had at least 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
Because we've seen so many coaches come in, have a 2-year success, and then kind of fall off from there or shift from there. There's a lot of coaches out there that have come in, shown success, or unfortunately in the case of Jonathan Smith, and then moved on after 2 years.
Right.
So, but I think Curt Cignetti, based on what we've seen so far, at the end of next year, could very, very well be number one on this list if we look at it that way.
If they win 11 games, let's say, it'd be hard to imagine that he would not be. But after Bowden, Parsegian, and Bob Devaney, fifth would be Jerry Claiborne, Maryland. That's a name that often escapes our memory. But six, I think, is one of the great coaching jobs we have seen. And when Barry Alvarez left Notre Dame, where he was defensive coordinator and they'd won a national championship, and everyone, including Lou Holtz, told him, don't take that job. That's a graveyard. You don't want to go up there. And Wisconsin hadn't done anything forever. It had been such an embarrassment. And he went in there, and wham, it was 3 years, I believe, and he had them in the Rose Bowl. And then they won 3 Rose Bowls in the decade of the 90s. What about the job that Barry Alvarez did? He's number 6 on your list.
Yeah, and he's number 1 in the Big Ten, very similar to Snyder by a good almost 10% above Jeff Braun, who you wouldn't think would jump out at you on that list.
Wow.
Jeff Braun, when he took over Purdue, that was another one that was, way down at 18, but winning only 1 out of 5 games previously. But yeah, Barry Alvarez, what a great story that is. I was at Michigan State. That was during the time frame that I was at MSU, and just watching them. I remember them coming into East Lansing early in his tenure and I wouldn't say getting blown out, but getting dominated. And then two or 3 years later, we're in Japan trying to play him and just getting run over. And, he really, such an impressive way, the way he went into Wisconsin and just said, look, I'm not going to bring what I did at Notre Dame to this. I'm going to build off the strength of this state. And that was that offensive line, power running game. And, they just bulldozed people for all those years. It's incredible to watch when you think back about it.
Yeah. You also talk about the biggest declines, and there are a couple of Big Ten coaches who are very high on the negative list. Jim Valek of Illinois is the second worst, and Jerry Burns at Iowa is the third worst. But the worst is a guy that a lot of people here know. He had also been Michigan State ties with Chuck Fairbanks. And I think I know who the offensive line coach was at Colorado.
Yeah, they could, like you said, Chuck would probably blame it on Buck. So Buck was there those 3 years, before he made the jump over to MSU in '83 under Perlis.
Yeah.
So yeah, he saw some tough football there where they went 7-26.
Yeah.
Over a period of 3 years, and that is a negative 45% from where they were. So they really dropped down.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So much depends, Vince, on where you are. I refer to Gary Moeller, and he'd been a terrific assistant under Bo Schembechler, and then he went to Illinois, and I think he was 3-30 in 3 years there, and then came back to Michigan and eventually became the head coach nearly a decade later. And in 5 years, he did some good things. He had a season with no losses, 3 ties, but he'd also been to the Rose Bowl, won a Rose Bowl. So some good things there. It depends on where you are. You talk about some of the other coaches here, and Greg Schiano's name shows up at Rutgers. This was his first stint at Rutgers, I take it.
Yes, he's in. Yep, that's correct. And these don't count if you go back to a second school. Okay. So Bill Snyder era is just that first era.
Yeah.
But yeah, Greg Schiano, definitely he comes in right around 37th out of almost 600 coaches.
Yeah.
Turn that program around. You think about it, he didn't have a great overall winning percentage. He was basically 500, but he took over a program that was only winning 20% of their games.
Right.
So, that plus 30% really is impressive when you start stacking it up against some other schools.
Locally, we have coaches who make this list as well. Of course, we have Hayden Fry. That was one of the great coaching jobs that I have ever seen at Iowa. They'd gone more than 2 decades without being in a bowl game. Gary Barnett, take the purple to Pasadena. No one saw that coming. Joe Tiller, Mike White, first coach ever to have a 9-0 Big Ten team in conference play. And then you have Bo Schembechler and Mark D'Antonio and what they were able to do with programs on the higher end. But you also talk about the coaches' programs had the biggest fall off. And there's one for Michigan State here at about close to 27% drop, and one for Michigan at more than a 31% drop. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, so, interestingly, you've got Muddy Waters coming in, taking over that program and, really struggling, 10 and 23, 30%. And then, the one for Michigan is Rich Rod. So, and the interesting thing about Rich Rod is he actually was pretty high at West Virginia and kind of maintained the program at Arizona.
Yeah.
Boy, that just was not a good fit for Michigan. They went from winning 72% of their games the previous 4 years under Lloyd Carr, dropping down to 40%, which is sacrilegious for that program. So he is the 5th worst coach in Big Ten history for taking over a program. Ahead of only, a couple of the old-time coaches, certainly the worst in the modern era, Leon Burnett, Bob DeMoss, Jerry Burns, and Jim Valek, some names that, I barely recognize.
Vince, how long does it take you to do one of these research projects? How do you do it?
If you'd have asked me that question 6 months ago, I would have said this would have taken, especially the one with the coaches here, a good 30 hours, 20 hours or so. But I enjoy it. It's kind of an intersection of sports, which I love, and data geekiness, which I just am.
Right.
I will say, a lot of people hate AI, but boy, AI can really help run these analyses. I can throw the file out, tell it what I want it to do, and it comes back. I spot check it. But this one probably took on the coach's side about 10 hours.
Okay.
Is, how long it took when I took a look at it.
By the way, are you still in Atlanta?
No, I came back. I got back late last night. Yeah,
okay.
Bucket list trip for my son Robert and I, was a very good soccer player at East Lansing High School, lives in Chicago now after graduating from Indiana University, and we went down to Atlanta, a quick 48-hour trip, and saw England play Congo. We had great seats, and he's always been a big English Premier League fan, and Tottenham especially, and loves Harry, and just an amazing game to watch.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, Congo had them. Their fans were crazy. For anyone who hasn't gotten a chance to see a game of soccer at that level, it is as intense of a setting I've witnessed. I've seen some great football games, great basketball games. That fan base of England, which was probably 90% dominant, what an electric atmosphere. I mean, I don't think they sat down the whole game. It was like watching an SEC football game.
Vince, we want to get you back on the show later in July, and we want to talk about another project that you're working on, and talk about the coverage of high school sports and some very exciting news.
Yeah, we're still trying to build that. Would love to come back on and talk through it. I'm hoping that we're there in time to at least run a pilot in the fall and cover that a little bit, so we can catch up on that offline. And Jack, if you have 30 seconds more, I'd like to just talk Pat Fitzgerald for 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
You got that?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
So, the real challenge on this whole thing is Muddy Waters, was a bad 4 years. The 4 years Pat Fitzgerald has taken over is worse. And I think a lot of the fan base looks at this and says, they expect Pat Fitzgerald to go 8-4.
Huh.
If he goes 8-4, he is going to effectively be the 3rd best turnaround in the history of the Big Ten.
Yeah, that'd be a miracle.
If he goes 9-3, he'll be the 2nd. If he goes 10-2, he'll be number 1 above Barry Alvarez if he can maintain that.
Wow.
So, I'm not trying to set expectations.
Right.
It's just a hard thing, the program that he's trying to take over on where they were. So I just want to set that expectation. I think we all have expectations, but boy, if he can get it going and start having some winning records, it's going to be ranking in the top 10 turnarounds in Big Ten history.
All right. Vince Nystrom, our guest. Thanks so much, Vince. We're going to stay right here. And I believe we have my buddy Jim Cotter with us. Jim, of course, was a tremendous pitcher for Michigan State. Big Ten champion. It was on those teams with Kirk Gibson. I don't know who the most valuable player was, Cotter or Gibson. We know who had a better major league career, but we won't go there. And then on to a distinguished career of service at Michigan State as director of admissions. You can't miss him. He's at so many events. He's an auctioneer. He's a friend of Karen Sadler. We know all about his tremendous work there. And so many other things that he is associated with Michigan State University. How you doing, Jim? How about our Tigers?
I'll tell you what, Jack, I can't wait until 8:05 tonight. We'll see how the Tigers can do down at Houston. But I believe in this ball club. I still think that they could make it. They could win it all.
Do you think Tarek Skubal will finish the season wearing the Old English D?
Absolutely. I think right now, I think they're only 8 back, Jack. They're 6 back, I think, in the wild card race.
Yeah.
You know, and you get right down to it, 60% of the American League right now is below 500, so anybody could make the playoffs. And you know as well as I do, you make the playoffs, it doesn't matter who wins the division, doesn't matter who gets the wild card. Yeah. It's who's hot in October. And with the Tigers pitching staff, I sure would not want to face that starting group in a short series.
Yeah. Well, if we can agree that Tarek Skubal will probably, almost certainly, not be a Detroit Tiger next year, just from a financial standpoint, then this is the window. And do you think that if the Tigers sneak closer and they can see the wild card, and the division title is certainly not out of realm of possibility, that the Tigers would even be buyers at the trade deadline?
Well, they certainly could. They could bolster that bullpen a little bit, although I'll tell you what, if they can get Jansen out of it, and if Best can come around, Montero was incredible yesterday. I love that kid. Another bat in the lineup wouldn't hurt. Torque has got, his 14 home runs, but he's batting .215. Mm-hmm. The question is, what are you willing to give up? And I wouldn't think anybody in the major league roster, perhaps somebody in the minor leagues. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but anything could happen.
Scott Harris does not like to trade prospects. He thinks they're all going to be in the Hall of Fame. So with that perspective, you see teams and they're trading minor leaguers all the time. The Dodgers are, a lot of teams are doing it. And they still wind up with pretty good farm systems because they know how to draft. They know how to find talent. And if they lose a couple players out of their system, so be it. They're going to chase the brass ring. So we'll see if the Tigers take that road. You mentioned Keder Montero. I think the Tigers would be well served to take the last 60 games, 65 games of this season and develop Keder Montero into a closer for the postseason. I think he can do it. He's so good the first time through the order. His stuff is hard to pick up unless you've seen it. And I think that with the pitchers they have now, you couldn't say that before because they didn't have a healthy Casey Mize. They certainly didn't have Tarek Skubal. Flaherty was out. He was pitching better now with Valdez, and you certainly see what Troy Melton can do. So, I would think they have enough starting pitching that if they had a reliable to lights out closer, and I think Montero has the best chance to do that. Someone said, well, why don't they just do that with Justin Verlander? Justin Verlander is historically bad the first time through the order, and if he can get through the first part of the order, then look out. But Montero, you don't find him giving up many runs in the first or second inning. And we saw that again in his relief stint.
The thing I like the most about Montero is his approach to the game. I mean, that guy is fearless. I think back to the playoffs last year in the 13th and 14th inning when the Tigers were facing elimination. Yeah. This cat is just focused. He's got good control. He keeps his emotions in check. Yeah. I like him a lot. And I tell you what, how tough it must be, Jack, to go from the bullpen to the starting role to the bullpen, and this kid has not faltered one bit. I love him. He is. I think he'll do whatever they ask him to do.
Jim, I have to talk to you about Michigan State. You know it so well. You've known it a lot of different ways, worn a lot of hats, including Michigan State baseball cap. As you see what's going on now, when people say to you, what the hell's going on in East Lansing? What do you tell them?
Well, I guess I would stop and say, Michigan State just picked up a $10 million gift to do physics research today. They're doing ocean strategy in terms of how to cool the world. The autism research they're doing is incredible. The faculty continues to teach. The students continue to learn. The research continues to go on. Yeah. Is this a bump in the road? Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This is a bump in the road, but it's nothing new for Spartans. I mean, we've learned how to kind of deal with adversity, and it's the old saying: "We've met our enemy, and it is us." And if we can just find out a way to get along, I think we'd be okay. I think, as opposed to kind of running around with my hair on fire right now, I kind of tend to look at the other side of it and say, it's a great place. It's a global community, and there's so much good going on. We'll come through this, and when we do, we'll be stronger for it.
Yeah. Well, whenever you lose a president again and an athletic director again after 26 months and 12 months, that tells you something. But maybe we're due an 11th hour surprise here. Jim, if you held a pistol to my head, I wouldn't bet that Kevin Guskiewicz is leaving.
It is an interesting situation because, as far as I know, he's still there, as is Jay Batt. I mean, it's kind of a strange situation right now, but I don't know. It's interesting. If I were Clemson, I think I'd kind of say, "Okay, Kev, what's up?" But I mean, it's. I don't know what's going on there, but it is kind of interesting, and certainly the community has rallied around it.
Yeah. I think that outpouring of support did make a difference to him, just as it did to Irvin Johnson when he came back from the Albert Schweitzer games, I think intending to sign with Michigan, and then he saw 10,000 people at the airport and said, I can't do this. I'm not saying that every yard sign mattered, but when you see the outpouring of support and maybe the increased involvement from the 600,000 alums that Tom Izzo called to task, I think you find that maybe there's more daylight here than we imagined. I don't think that's true with Jay Batt. He's going to be making $3 million at Kentucky, and he's here, I think, for the start of Spartan Ventures, and then who knows? Maybe there's a financial situation here too, because Kentucky would have to pay twice as much if he leaves before Kevin Guskiewicz does. But if Kevin isn't leaving, then I would expect Jay Batt to be gone in very short order, certainly before the start of football season. And then Michigan State would need to have a full-time AD who would be, I assume, named by the president. And it's going to need an interim AD. You have any ideas of who might be able to do a good job with that?
Well, I think there's a lot of folks out there that have a tremendous history with the university. There are those, I think, that have really stellar reputations that are known globally, and then I think we have some folks that probably aren't as well known but have a good history with the university that would have potential as well.
Right.
The team is there. I mean, we've got Tom Izzo in terms of a head basketball coach. I have been so impressed with Pat Fitzgerald. I don't need to say anything about hockey because we all know that Adam's got that thing going. And then you look at the sports like, gymnastics and soccer, and I love baseball. And I mean, at this point, the athletic department, I think, is in good health. I think we have to get to a point where we move forward quickly. I don't think we can kind of dilly-dally around a whole lot longer. I think we've got to make some decisions as an institution. But, I think the thing is, if Kevin does leave, and I think he's got to make some decisions quickly for his own good and for the university's good, my guess is there's a whole lot of interest in this position of president at Michigan State because it's a game changer. I mean, it is an institution that changes the world every day, and I think it's a very, very desirable job. And if I came in with a 6-2 vote Give me a 6-2 vote any day.
That's right.
And I think that's kind of where that board stands right now. I think you got 6 guys standing together. You got 2 that are kind of on the outside looking in and perhaps not happy. But, hey, 6-2 is more than a majority. And I'd take it in a heartbeat. And I kind of wish Kevin would have, too. But, we'll just see where it goes from there.
If you were pitching, Jim, and you won the game 6-2, how upset would you be that you didn't get a shutout? You'd be thrilled.
Well, I would have run to Coral Gables. Of course, I can't do that anymore. But 6-2 is a great win, and I probably both those runs would have probably been unearned, Jack. But I'd take a 6-2 win any day.
Well, I have to tell you, Jim, that after our last conversation, I had a long discussion with someone who is very, 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 very closely associated with Michigan State and what it is. And we were talking about just the possibilities, right? And one of the first names that came up as an interim AD, Jim Cotter.
Well, I'm flattered. I've heard that rumor. I haven't really talked to anyone about it. It would have to be under the right circumstances. Sure. I'd certainly want to make sure that it was something that was best for the university, because as I've looked at that place for my 38-year tenure there, it's been no one is bigger than Michigan State University.
And that is exactly why your name came up, Jim, what you just said, because it would have to be what's best for Michigan State University. You didn't say anything about what's best for Jim Cotter. You're talking about doing it for all the right reasons. Jim, thanks so much. I appreciate all your time. We'll talk some Tigers baseball down the road. Maybe I'll even see you at Comerica in the playoffs. How about that?
Hey, how about the World Series, Jack?
Oh, wow. He's going all the way, Rob. He's not stopping with the wild card. He's already ready to play the Dodgers. Okay.
That's right. Take care, Jack. Good talking to you.
We will be right back, and we're going to talk with Jeff Kohler, father of Jackson Kohler, who's done exceptionally well at his post-draft sessions. Enough that he is on the summer league roster for the Utah Jazz and has been outstanding in all of his workouts. We'll be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Jeremy, it's finally patio season.
About time. And not just any patio, Amy. One North patios.
We're talking sunshine, cold drinks, and that perfect I should have left work early vibe.
Lansing, East Lansing, Jackson, each one has got its own patio personality.
Whether it's brunch in the sun, happy hour with friends, or late night cocktail under the lights.
It just hits different outside.
Great food, craft drinks, and plenty of space to kick back.
So grab your crew and claim your spot.
One North Kitchen and Bar, your table's waiting. Outside.
Let's go.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Spring is here, and so is good news for lease customers.
You got that right, Jack. Pretty exciting news, both at Nissan and Chevy. We have a lease pull-ahead starting right now. So if you're bored with your lease, too many miles, close to too many miles, you just want to get out because of a high payment, bring it in. We'll get you out of your lease and get you into something more exciting.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Grab Avocamus. They're making friends. Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer, Boston Rob. Rob, reason for that rejoin? Anything, any link I should know? I should have picked up on?
No. Just a nice random Foo Fighters.
Okay.
Many people think our next guest is quite the hero on social media. I don't know if you know that or not.
I do know that. I
has
also
quite
know
the
he did
following and
did a terrific job on this show when he came on during the winter.
Yes.
While his son, Jackson Kohler, was playing well for Michigan State and turning a lot of heads, and he's done the same thing now post-draft. Free agent signee with the Utah Jazz. Jeff, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
Good. How's Jax doing? We know that we're reading great things. He has the E10 deal, and he has an opportunity in Summer League, and all the reports are that he has been as good as any player in these workouts. Can you take us through the draft process, what that was like, and did Jackson think he was going to get picked in the second round? Sometimes it's better if you're not.
So, first half of the season, it was a lock, I thought, and second half, he got pretty sick in January, and he just kind of got himself into a funk. And then mentally, when you're in a funk, it's really hard to unmentally yourself through that. So, his numbers came back down to earth a little bit, but still, for a guy that 25% defensive rebounding rate, 12% offensive rebounding rate, and can shoot the three.
Yeah,
I thought for sure he had a lot of really good workouts this summer, but he has this rep about being unathletic, and I just don't buy it. But he had some great opportunities. He had a lot of people that offered him the E10 deal, and the path with the Jazz coincidentally was a really unique one, and the phone calls that we had were just really. It kind of sounds like, the home team kind of helped. No, they really genuinely think very highly of him, and there's a route for him if he can go into Summer League and defend and knock down some shots. He might get the deal he wants. So, but as far as how draft night went, the kids want to hear their name called, but I don't think. When you're a guy that's in the top 60 or right on the fringe, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just you got to find a team that really, really likes you, that has a need for you, that sees your value, and then you just got to go out there and impress them and play hard for them, and good things happen. And I feel like that's really genuinely where we're at.
Some people would say, Jeff, if you're not in the first round, or certainly if you're not in the top 40, it's really a matter of fit. And are you in the right place with the team that needs you, with the team that doesn't have people locked up in front of you with long-term contracts? And so that's very important. But can you explain to our listeners what an E10 contract is?
Yeah, and I agree with what you say about second round and fit, because first rounders, those are teams that are just trying to not necessarily need to win now, right? And the teams that are in the second round are usually teams that are in the hunt and they can use a specific piece, right? And so that's the value of late guys. But the E10 is a Summer League deal, and with Jackson, I think he just gets an ultra hard knock on can he defend on the perimeter? Mm-hmm. I watched film all summer, to when he was a junior going against guys like Dawson Garcia, to how he stacked up against Morez and how he guarded Yaxel. He's not getting blown by more than anybody else. He's a smart positional defender. He's good with his angles, but anyway. But the E10 is a Summer League deal, where it's just come out and basically prove it. We still got some more that we want to observe on your behalf, and the hope is that if you play well in Summer League, you can parlay that into a two-way deal or something better. But that's kind of what we're hoping for right now, and Danny Ainge has told him, some really great things. They're really excited to have him, that he's a huge fan and things like that. And so the kid's all pumped up. He's playing really, really well in practice. He's bonded with guys like Ace Bailey. They played against each other, and Ace is a great kid, and they kind of pair off a little bit. But yeah, it's a summer league deal, man. So the Utah, what's interesting is, like, before Vegas, they have their own thing that starts out here this weekend. So it'll be good to see them out there on the floor and in action.
We're talking with Jeff Kohler, father of Jackson Kohler, one of my favorite Michigan State players, going all the way back to 1969. When he got here, Jeff, everyone knew the story about his post moves, right? I think he even turned Tom Izzo's head when he saw him in the camp scene. He said, man, that guy's really advanced with this stuff. And he wasn't a three-point shooter in those days, but he worked on it. And without that skill, without the ability to stretch a defense, I don't think we'd be having this discussion.
0% chance, because, the one thing when you come in as a big, it takes bigs a little bit more time to develop because they're going up against guys that are carved out of stone. And like when you're when you're still a little skinny fat as a freshman and you're young, it takes you a year or two to go through the weight training program. And so, Izzo and staff, they told him, like, in the post, keep it simple. They didn't want him doing double step throughs and up and unders. Right. They just wanted him to, like, get to your right hook, and he just got conditioned to do that. So it's like you never really got to see this kid's a savant in the post. And this summer it's been great because the main goal this summer was for him to get back to who he is as a player. Mm-hmm. Forget about your role at Michigan State, forget about what they need from you. Use the whole library of tools that you have now. Get back to your instinct, get back to your feel. And he's been doing that. Like, he's been playing in a lot of the pro runs, and he's been up at BYU and Utah playing against their teams and former pros, and he's the best I've ever seen him. And it's just so great and so refreshing to see a kid get back in touch with who he really is, as a player, and he's been able to do that out here.
Jeff, what's the most important thing he learned or developed at Michigan State? Didn't get a national championship, did get a Big Ten championship, and started a lot of games and scored points and got rebounds and playing time, all of that. But what's the most important thing that he took away from it?
To go through adversity and to find out what your walls are, to knock them down, to fall down, to get back up. And I think staying in one place in this day and age, he was kind of thought of because he was at 4 high schools in 4 years as a kid that moved around. Mm-hmm. But our moving had nothing to do with basketball. At first it was for my work, and then it was because of COVID. But it was like, it wasn't because the kid was unhappy with basketball. He was an MVP everywhere he stepped on the floor. But I think he had never dealt with a lot of adversity in high school. He was playing with LeBron James's team, and he just won, and he was successful in his position. He didn't have a lot of adversity, but when he met Tom and Woj and guys, and they just said, "Hey, you're not that reality and that sobering you get as a freshman when you realize you're not good enough, and you're at the bottom of the totem pole, and you're staring back up, and you get knocked down on your back a few times." I think it was most important for him to learn, get back up. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Keep working, keep pushing, and things will be fine.
And I think that psychologically, you can see when he is confident. You can see when he feels good. And when you see that, even in a pregame warm-up, you can say, I think Jax might go off tonight.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think too, I love Michigan State and the program and the coaches and the players and the fans, and I love every piece of it. But it is, even player or parent, it's taxing on the old mental health. It really is.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. Yeah. And the fact that my kid got through it and, in some places is looked upon the way that he is, I think that he wears that on his sleeve now. He walks a little bit taller. He walks a little more confidently than he might have, in his first year or two. But And I love that. Watching this kid get his confidence and being at the doorstep of the NBA and knocking on the door and sees the path and he's working at it and he can taste it. That's so fun to watch one of your kids go through that. There's nothing better.
One of the things, Jeff, that I really loved about Jax, and I don't know how many times you had a chance to see Moneyball. I know you followed him so much during the season. Moneyball.
I was out there a bit.
Yeah. He played harder than any Michigan State player. Now, maybe you had some junkyard dog who was trying to impress somebody and get a chance, a walk-on, or a chance to get even a scholarship. That might be different. But as far as the Michigan State guys, and they're 2 per team, the way they are assigned, he came out there with a purpose. He never dogged it. In fact, a couple of the other players were like, hey, come on now. We practiced this morning. This is Moneyball. Don't make us look bad out here. But that's kind of the way he approached it.
They used to call him a tryhard, and he's like, I'm not. There is no point in me to walk out here and get a sweat going to play casually.
Yeah.
He's like, we're out here. The fans are out here. Let's go. He's like, let's drop the gloves and let's get into it. Like, that kid's a competitor, and he would find any one little thing that he could. And I think sometimes, it was a place for him to take out some practice frustration and stuff like that. Like, poor Xavier Booker, right? Took a couple 50 pieces from him or whatever because he's like, he saw the 5-star thing and he was like, oh hell no, right? Like, so, and he's not a kid that can just go out there and play casually. I mean, watching him out here playing in this local one where they've got some pretty good talent. He went to work on a 7-footer. Like, I thought fights were going to break out for sure, and they were smiling all the way through it. But it was chippy and 2 hands pushing. There was a big from Tennessee that got ejected from the game because he was so frustrated trying to guard Jackson. Jack just kept coming at him. So he's just that kind of a kid.
The Memphis Grizzlies have an opportunity for Carson Cooper. Wouldn't it be wild in a couple of years, Jeff, if we have a Jazz Grizzlies game and we got a couple times at Moneyball and you saw every day in practice with Jackson Coop going at it again?
Yeah, I would love it. I think those two, my kid obviously has a special place in my heart, but the conversations I had with Cooper and how it started and where it finished. I mean, these 2 kids, they worked their tail off. I think they reestablished a lot of the DNA about what makes Michigan State special. I think that was kind of, that kind of, I don't want to say fizzled, but it got in a really weird place for a couple of years. And I think those 2, really did so much in reestablishing the identity. And I kept my season tickets because I thought, I'm going to see some of these kids. And you know what? I'm going to say this too, because, I got so sick of hearing that this wasn't, Izzo's last year or year before. This wasn't his most talented group.
Yeah.
Tell me that the starting 5 last year, every single one of those kids isn't going to be in the NBA. And try to tell me that isn't a talented group. I just thought that was some of the most repulsive stuff I listened to. Was like, what are you talking about? These are 5 NBA players. They're going to make it. So,
what do you think this Michigan State team would be without Jackson Coop? And, of course, they have new guys coming in and guys developing and all that. But Jeremy's back, and some other guys are going to improve. Are you optimistic that this team might be able to take a step further? The Final Four is at Ford Field, and you never know, right?
I asked Garrett that on my ticket, my ticket's still available when that happens. I mean, because they got a really good squad this year.
Yeah,
I do worry about our bigs were just so solid, man, and I think the reason why this team was so good from a chemistry point of view, you probably attended the practices, right? I mean, like my kid in particular, he's loud, he's a talker, he's energetic, he's a spark plug. And I think that guys that were tended to be really, really quiet started to do that more. You lead by example. And so I think, I don't know, I'm really excited to see Caleb Glenn because he looks like John Bones Jones in a basketball jersey. Louisville Slugger tattoo on his bicep. I mean, I'm excited to watch that kid. I think he's the variable. If he rebounds and he can shoot it and he can play some 4, they should be good enough, man. I mean, on paper, Jeremy should be player of the year. Jordan getting those minutes last year was so big.
Yeah.
I like their chances. I think they probably go a little bit further than we did last year.
Jeff, great to talk with you. Do me a favor and tell Jax that we're all pulling for him And anytime he's got a slow day or a day off, we'd love to have him on the show.
Yeah, I'm going to pass that along to him because he owes you that at least.
Jeff Kohler, and one of the best parents. We talk about, Rob, what parents have meant to Michigan State. You know, you go outside the locker room there's that parents' room or wing, that lobby, right, with Fran Cleaves and company there, and parents have meant so much to this team.
Well, they say Michigan State's a family.
That's right.
That's prime example of that right there.
Exactly. All right, we're going to stay right here. Want to welcome in Jim Stark. He's a Detroit correspondent for us with the Tigers and the Pistons. Jim, lots to talk about with the Tigers. There wasn't at this point last week. But I want to start with the Pistons.
Okay.
And yesterday, adding John Collins.
Yep.
Not the first acquisition we have seen, right? We know that they brought in a guy who can shoot 42% from three, or at least he did coming off the bench for OKC. So has this team helped itself or hurt itself with the losses of Isaiah Stewart and Tobias Harris?
Man, Jack, I've been mulling that over myself because I think Stewart, I kind of understood. He's kind of a phase player, good defender, but I really thought they were clearing his salary for something bigger. But losing Tobias Harris, he was far more than just the stats on the score sheet or on the floor. He was the leader of this team in a lot of ways. He was the veteran. He was the guy they go to in a tough moment. So you don't just replace it. And then John Collins, I have not seen a lot of him playing over the years.
Yeah.
His numbers and his bio says he can score, he can shoot the three, he's a big enough to shoot and rebound, but he can't play defense. So have they replaced, replaced Stewart and Tobias Harris with Isaiah Joe and John Collins? I'm not sure at all.
Yeah, and we saw what the Pistons did in the draft, trading up to get a 6'2", slender guard who led the ACC in scoring, but Ibuka Okori, you watch him play in the highlights, and he looks terrific, but that doesn't mean he's going to be what the Pistons need. And if he is a point guard, then you just moved up in the draft and traded some capital to get a guy who's going to back up Cade Cunningham. I can't imagine Cade switching positions. He's not that kind of a perimeter shooter. You want the ball in his hands as much as possible. So I guess I'm just a little puzzled. And as you say, you thought there'd be a big splash, and there are lots of splashes being made in the pool.
Well, yeah, big names. The only big name I see out there that would even fit the kind of thing I thought was going to happen is Jaylen Brown from the Celtics, but I don't see that happening.
He just went to Philadelphia last night. He went to the Sixers last night.
I didn't see.
Yeah, he was traded for Paul George and a bunch of draft picks. So now, Philadelphia has Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe.
Wow.
And Jaylen Brown, and when he's healthy and motivated, we know he can still play. We're talking about Joel Embiid. And now there's even talk today of the Sixers are so euphoric about this that they're telling Golden State or telling LeBron James, before you sign with Golden State, come look at us in Philadelphia. You imagine LeBron James on the Sixers?
I hadn't seen that. The last I saw, which was yesterday, was the Pistons were projected to land him in a couple different websites. But again, until it happens, you don't know. But the thing is, Jack, are the Pistons better today? They were a 60-win team, but they couldn't win in the playoffs. Right. Are they better today by not having one of their best center defenders and their best forward, by having two guys who've never really been starters full time? And John Collins has a hard time staying healthy. That's the other thing.
Yeah, right.
And so, I mean, and they did re-sign Herter, right? But he was hurt too. How much did we see from him? They signed him to a 3-year contract. That's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah, I don't think he was the answer. I think he was a disappointment. And health was a factor, as you should say, but I don't think he did anything for him down the stretch.
No. And again,
They picked up options on Jenkins. But again, if Jenkins is your first guy off the bench, you are not an improved team. That's one thing I think they had to improve was their guard play off the bench.
Yeah. Well, Jenkins had good games and not so good games, but they got him for nothing.
Consistent.
So yeah, exactly. All right, let's switch to the Tigers. And after dropping 5 of 7 last week at home, everyone says, "Oh man, it's just getting started." Now they're going to go to New York. The Yankees just dropped 4 in a row to the Red Sox in Boston. They're going to come back spitting bullets, and Tigers think they had a tough time at home. They dropped the last 2 to the Yankees and then 3 out of 4 to the Astros. They're going to have big trouble in Yankee Stadium, and then Texas is now leading the American League West. Instead, Detroit gets its first sweep in the Bronx since 2008, and the first sweep ever, Jim, in the new Yankee Stadium. The last time they swept the Yankees, and the Yankees were wearing pinstripes, was the last time the Tigers were there in the old Yankee Stadium.
Well, Jack, you're right. They just when you think you've kind of got a read on them, they do something totally different.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: for June now, June's in the books. They went 15-11, so they went 4 games over 500, which is not a horrible month. Yeah. But Jack, they're still 8 games behind in the division, and I think it's 6 games behind in the wild card. They didn't move much in the wild card or the division with a really good month. What's going to make me believe that July is going to be any better?
Well, they're 11 under 500, correct?
Right.
And to make it into the playoffs, almost anyone would tell you have to be at least 8 over.
Yeah. So they had a good month of June and really didn't move. To me, the alarm clock is ringing on a decision for Derek Skubal. He's had a couple decent outings. He threw the ball pretty hard. He got a lot of strikeouts last game. To me, the decision's made. And when you think about it, look at their starting staff right now without Skubal. You've got Casey Mize, who's pitched well the last few times. You've got Peter Montero. You've got Flaherty, who's been decent enough.
Better.
You've got Framber Valdez, and you've got Troy Melton. That's not a bad 5. Plus, you've got coming back next year, you've got Reese Olson and Jackson Jobe. That's not a bad 7 guys to look at.
Right.
Now, they got to re-sign Mize.
Right.
But to me, the decks are cleared to make a move on Skubal.
Yeah, well, I'm not even talking about next year because Skubal will not be there next year.
Right, he will not be. Right, exactly.
So that's not an issue. But in terms of this year, I'm going to follow up on something I said a little earlier in the show, Jim. I think they stumbled into it in New York. Kader Montero should be the closer.
Well, that's where he was. I was shocked last night, Jack, when I thought someone made a mistake when they said that, but he's been I would argue, one of their most consistent starting pitchers all year long, right?
Yeah.
And I realized they got a huge hole in the bullpen, especially at the back end. So maybe that is the thing. But to me, again, I think first and foremost, if I'm Scott Harris, I have got to make a decision about Skubal and make a move.
What if they just wait, just drag it out, like slow playing the option? They have until August 3rd.
They do, but I think the price goes down. I don't think it goes up. I think he'll get a better price now from a team that will get another month out of him in terms of play than he will in a month from now. And again, what are they waiting for? What's going to change in a month? Nothing's changed in the last month, and they had a good June.
Yeah, well, one thing that they hope will change is what has happened on the road. Yesterday was a little different because they had that lead and then lost it in the 9th and then came on and won in extra innings. But this team is still 1-18, Jim, 1-18 in road games decided by 1 or 2 runs. That's incredible. Yeah. I don't know how you do that.
The things that they did well last year, Jack, the little things that got them a run here, a run there, or didn't cost them a run here, run there, they're not doing that this year. The pitchers are walking way too many guys.
Yeah.
They're the leader in blown saves in the Major League Baseball. So the little things that they did right last year, doing wrong this year. And again, they beat the Yankees 5 out of 6 times, right, in the last 2 series. and they haven't moved an inch.
4 out of 6.
They're never going to do that again.
Yeah, they beat them 4 out of 6 because they lost twice to the Yankees.
4 out of 6, excuse me. Yeah, 4 out of 6. But they won't do that again. So
they also swept the White Sox.
Yeah,
and the White Sox are leading the American League by a game and 8 over the Tigers. So if you know that you just swept the team that is in first place, it makes you think, well, what happens if now our pitching staff is healthy? We've got as good a starting rotation as there is in the American League. What if Riley Green gets hot? 2 home runs the other night. What if Spencer Torkelson gets hot? We know these guys are not 162-game consistent players, but if they can do that to add to Dingler and McGonigal, is there any reason the Tigers couldn't get into the playoffs and make a run?
Well, see, 2 different things. Making the playoffs and making a run. Jack, they've got, on their Major League lineup right now, they've got 6 guys hitting less than 200. To me, that's way too big a hole to try to fill. Mm-hmm. I know the emphasis on batting average is not what it used to be, but that's way too many outs to cover for every night, and they just don't have a Major League winning lineup at the plate every night. They don't.
Mm-hmm. I think there's another approach we haven't talked about, Jim, and I don't expect Scott Harris to do it. I don't think he's wired that way. He's not Dave Dombrowski. But if the Tigers can close in the next month, right? We're talking about a month and a day is the trade deadline. And let's say the Tigers have a good 3 weeks here. And they chop into this lead. Let's say it's 5 games instead of 8. And let's say they're 2 or 3 games out of the wild card. Why wouldn't you consider being buyers at the trade deadline? Because you only have Tarek Skubal for a couple more months, and then you're losing a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. You're also losing Gleyber Torres, and we know they're a different team when he's healthy. So when he comes back, that could help. Who's to say that the Tigers couldn't pick up a bat or 2 who would help them down the stretch? There are guys out there.
I think you're talking about 2 different scenarios, Jack. 2 different distinct scenarios.
Okay.
One is the one you just described, where Skubal's staying. We're going to go all in because we think we can do it. Yes, you've got to add, but they are so short of a right-handed bat, it's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, if in a month things are relatively the same, then you can't afford not to get rid of Torres. Because here's the thing. I don't want to give Torres at bats if we're writing out the season. I want to give Lee at bats, right? I don't want to give innings to Kenny Jansen. I want to give them to Cater Montero. I just think they got to make a decision at some point, and they cannot walk the fence the whole time. They got to make a decision. Your scenario you just threw out, or the other one, which I'm throwing out there, but it can't be both.
Jim, last year, the Tigers had a 15.5 game lead over the Cleveland Guardians and did not win the division. Of course, it was the greatest comeback in Major League history, right? The team had never come back from 15.5 down, but they did. And, we saw the Tigers 2 years ago. Where were they on July 8th? They were 8 games under 500. Now they're 11 under now. But, it's possible that by July 8th, they could be 3 over in the next week, and then they would be 8 games under again. And in both of those years, Jim, I don't want to sound like the Tigers PR. I'm anything but that.
You're auditioning for the job. I like it. Go ahead.
I want to say that in both of the last 2 seasons, and they weren't complete seasons. Once they were great in the last 2 months of the season. The other one, they were great in the first 3.5 months of the season. But in each season, they were 1 pitch away from being in the ALCS.
Yep. Jack, you definitely draw a correct scenario. It could all happen. You're absolutely right. It could all happen. I'm thinking what's more likely, right?
Yeah.
And I just see a guy like Spencer Torkelson who just has so many holes in his swing right now. Is he really going to turn it around like they need him to? Maybe. But other than the first 4 guys in the lineup, it gets awful dark as you go down that lineup.
Yeah.
Are they all going to turn it on at the right time? Maybe. But remember, you're trying to build a world champion, not just a team that's going to sneak in the playoffs. To me, that's what I look at. Do you say we've got guys that can win a championship for us, or do we?
Who do you have to beat? You have to beat the Yankees. They just did that. Who do you have to beat? You have to beat Tampa Bay. They've done that. You have to beat Chicago. They just swept Chicago.
But they are beating the other teams, though, Jack.
No, but they're not going to play those teams in the playoffs. And what they did in May is not where they are in July, Jim.
That's right. But Jack, their bullpen. Look at the numbers. The walks, the whip in the bullpen.
Yeah,
they got to have 3 bullpen guys to help them out. Not 1, but 3. Now Montero might be 1. They're still two more short.
I think Drew Summers can help him a lot. He's had 1 bad outing. Before that, he was at 0-0-0.
You know, it's funny, Jack, because back in the spring, I was Mr. Optimist and you were Mr. I remember having this argument then about being too optimistic but I don't have a good feeling in this team. They make too many mistakes too many times.
I'm not saying that they're going to do it. Okay, in fact, the odds would say they're not going to do it. Here's what I'm saying, Jim. I value courage much more than cowardice in front offices, and I like teams that go for it. I am so sick of the future, right? We have to have the future. We're going to be the team of the 2040s. We're going to be the team of the 2030s. And how often does this happen? We just had the Chicago White Sox 6 years ago, and they were going to be the team of the next decade. And then they went and they almost had the losingest season in history and had to start all over again.
No one's left. Yep.
So, I mean, I'm not all about the future here now with this team, especially Scott Harris says he doesn't believe in windows. They got a window, and it's right now, as long as 29 is in a uniform.
Jack, I agree with everything you said. Then take a big swing. Get a guy that can really move the needle, not another guy off the scrap heap. That's all they bring in. James Outman. Bring in someone, trade some of those guys, trade some of your capital, but they don't do that, Jack. They walk that middle of the road and don't make a big move either way. That's why I'm discouraged.
All right.
If they did, I'd be all for it if they did that.
Jim, thanks so much. Appreciate it. And when are we going to hear baseball this week? When's the next show?
We'll be on tonight at 6:25.
You got it. Look forward to it.
Yep.
Thanks so
Tune
much.
in then for more of this.
We'll be right back, and we're going to talk with Scott Berman at One North. Rob, he's got some amazing things going on over there, including the World Series of Burgers. And we're going to talk with Chef Kurt Kwiatkowski, and he's just won the National Chef Championship. And then Jay Green will be here, and we will have him in studio as well. We'll be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Jeremy, what's the move when the kids say they're bored?
Easy. Family fun night every Tuesday at One North.
Free kids meal with every entree, so dinner is handled.
And we're not just talking crayons and paper menus.
Nope. We've got Battleship, Uno, all the table game classics.
Plus, all the big stuff, Amy. Giant Yahtzee, Connect 4. It's basically game night leveled up.
Kids stay entertained. Parents actually get to relax. It's a win-win.
Great food, family vibes, and a little friendly competition.
Family fun night at One North Kitchen and Bar.
Come hungry and ready to play.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Spring is here, and so is good news for lease customers.
You got that right, Jack. Pretty exciting news, both at Nissan and Chevy. We have a lease pull ahead starting right now. So if you're bored with your lease, too many miles, close to too many miles, you just want to get out because of a high payment, bring it in. We'll get you out of your lease and get you into something more exciting.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Medawar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling with my producer, Boston Rob. We also have Jay Green in studio. He'll be with us in a few minutes. And, Jay, we're talking about one of your favorite places. We're talking about One North, Kitchen and Bar, right?
Yeah.
Your favorite place to go for brunch?
Yes.
And
Sunday
a great
brunches.
meeting spot to watch games. We have our table.
Coaches shows.
Right?
Yes. Definitely have our... you know what? They need to... I think they need to put a sign on there.
Yeah. Well, they're still undefeated, right? When we're at that table?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I want to welcome in Scott Berman. Scott and Kathy done a tremendous job there. Amazing renovation. And it's not a sports bar. It's a dining experience where you can enjoy games and everything else, including the Michigan State coaches shows. Scott, how are you?
Good. Thank you. Good to talk to you. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man.
I want to talk a little bit about this weekend, first of all, and for people looking for something to do or somewhere to go, you have some specials, some things here that caught my eye. I'm not going to be in town. I'm going to be in Boston. But, I would maybe get a to-go order. I don't know.
There you go. Well, we're really the reason to be on today is to celebrate Kurt and an incredible award, but I'll kick it off with what we're doing to celebrate an equally deserved group, which is our veterans and the amazing 250th anniversary of our country that I think most of us on here and certainly all the people in this room are grateful for our country. Despite the challenges that we may face, it's still the greatest country in the world and worthy of our celebration. So we're going to do, in the spirit of baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie, we're doing baseball on the TVs all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, of course, along with soccer to mix in a little diversity. And we're doing $2.50 all-beef hot dogs and $2.50 apple pie slices, and for every transaction, we're giving $1 to the veterans of foreign wars to celebrate those great veterans who made this possible for us.
All right, I want to talk about a veteran of the kitchen. And do you want to talk a little bit about Kurt and what he means to One North, your 3 locations, but all of his expertise and all of the ideas that he comes up with, and he has been appropriately rewarded for that?
Well, I think that, for our sake, was just a small portion of his reward. As I wrote to some other people, we had very little to do with it. I'll let Kurt tell you about the award, but in essence, since you have a sports card, Kurt basically won the national championship of chefs yesterday, and that's the God's honest truth. I mean, it's he received an award at the American Culinary Federation Association that has very little to do with what he's done at One North and a whole lot to do with 35-plus years of excellence and mentoring and commitment to the industry and doing the right thing. And I'll let him tell you about it because I don't deserve any airtime for it.
We're talking
Kurt,
with Kurt Kwiatkowski. Kurt, congratulations on this. You want to talk about this award and how you received it?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, it's the name of the award is the Dr. L.J. Miner Professionalism Award. And it gets handed out because years ago, Dr. L.J. Miner fought to make the chef profession. Before it was seen as like a job, and he wanted people to understand what it means to be a chef and the idea of the profession of the job. And elevated what it is here. And I was nominated by my peers at a local level and won my chapter's award for the L.J. Minor Award. And then I went on and won the regional, amazingly, because all the presidents from all the chapters vote on it. And then at the national level, it was myself and 3 other incredibly accomplished chefs.
Yeah.
And then our peers. So everyone in the American Culinary Federation got a vote to vote who it is. And I somehow came out on top, and I feel incredibly fortunate. And it's really, really powerful. And like what Scott said, it's 35 years, and it's a lot of stuff of doing the right thing even when nobody's looking.
35 years of chefing. That's a lot of menu items. Can you talk about how and why you became a chef, and what does it mean to have that distinction at a place like One North?
Hopefully, how I became a chef, when I was 15, my parents told me I had to get a real job because I was a little bit of a delinquent. And they said you needed to do something else. And so that pushed me in the direction of working in a kitchen. Now, granted, I was a dishwasher.
Yeah.
But soon after, I started becoming a prep cook and then progressed. But after a couple of years, I realized it felt right to me. It felt like home. And as chaotic as it was, and plate slinging and it being incredibly ridiculously hot and incredibly high pressure situation, it was very calming to me.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, I know it's weird, but there's so many different problems to solve on like a daily by minute basis, by hour basis, every day, and I think that's something that I excel at. Mm-hmm. And I've haven't made the right decisions numerous times, but I feel like I've learned from all of that, and made a lot of bad decisions and learned and have gotten better because of it. And I think what it means to me here, I feel that I bring value to our organization from a standpoint of hopefully pushing our envelope, and what Scott and Kathy have created is something that I very much believe in. It's a different model of hospitality from our field, and their core values very much line up with mine in regards to the employees matter, the community matters, doing more for others instead of it just being about us. And that's something that I've lived by for a really, really long time, and that it's really important to me.
We know that the menus change seasonally, and there's always something new to try. I just think I'm working my way through it, and I see I got 4 more things I need to sample.
Good.
But in terms of the creativity aspect, how do you come up with these ideas? And do you ever get a situation where someone says, you know what, you're probably over the line a little bit on that one? And do you have a favorite item that you have concocted when people have said, why?
Great question. I think a lot of the creativity is coming from the culinary staff that's here. Hopefully what I'm able to do is maybe push them to refine it or push them to make sure that we're doing it consistently. So that's what I'm trying to bring, because what I've found, I've got great ideas, but why not lean into our team, who's also incredibly talented, and then it's easier for buy-in. All the way around. From a dish perspective, I'd say one of the things that I don't know that we went too far on it, but our pizza dough sure seems to be a winner in a lot of people's eyes. On the menu right now, I'm really a big fan of the tuna poke that we have.
Yeah, yeah.
It's it's marinated raw tuna with avocado, seasoned rice, some sesame, and some really nice crispy salted wonton skins. To kind of it gives you a nice crunch and texture.
Right, right. Well, you mentioned pizza. I'm somewhat of a pizza expert, as you can tell looking at me. But to me, the difference in pizza, more often than not, is the sauce. And there's something different about the One North, the flavor of the pizza sauce. You see, the dough is prepared differently and the toppings and all that. But whatever you're doing, keep doing that. Congratulations on winning this award. Scott, are you still there?
I am.
All right, you have 60 seconds to describe the World Series of Burgers.
Oh, geez, that's a hard one, but I'll do it. It's a 12-week contest that created in Jackson because they had the idea. One of our chefs down there had the idea last year. It was so successful, we decided to expand it. So for 12 weeks, a different member of our culinary team at each restaurant gets to create their own burger. We keep track of the sales. The one that sells the best from each of through the 12 weeks becomes the winner of their restaurant. It gets replicated at all 3 restaurants, so the 3 winners will then be sold in the championship weeks, and eventually we will choose one winner. Internally, there will be cash prizes for the people whose burgers were selected. For the guests, if they come, they get basically a ballpark coupon, so they get to collect if they buy one of the burgers of the week. And if they buy 6 burgers during the championship week, they get their burger half off. And if they hit all 12 burgers or get 12 coupons, then they get their burger free championship week. And obviously their purchases are the votes that tally and decide the winners.
Okay.
So you can't go wrong with burgers, and we hope people enjoy it.
Scott Berman and Kurt Kwiatkowski from One North. And Scott, Jay Green is sitting here right now and his mouth is watering. So with all this discussion about these 12 burgers, we're going to try to get through the rest of the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
All right. Jay, when you think about the games we have had a chance to see, the trips we've had a chance to take, and we're just getting started, there's a lot of curiosity. I want to say guarded optimism about this football season. There's still some people out there who don't have a clue with reality, and they're saying, a team should be able to do what Indiana did. That has happened once in history. But for a lot of people, I think they think that this football season, they're going to see effort. They're going to see players with a purpose. They're going to see teams playing together. They're going to see teams that are fundamentally sound and strategically well coached, especially on special teams. What excites you about Michigan State football in 2026?
I think for me, it starts at the top with the head coach.
Yeah.
And like I always tell you, you can't be around him and not feel his energy and his passion for what he is doing. And that alone, I feel like, it is a huge thing for me. And then you look at his record, what he's done, where he was with really no resources as far as a football program. Like they weren't considered a football school, so he just made do with what he had. The people that he's brought around, he's mixed in some former Spartans, and I think he got some other coaches. He got what's considered the best special teams coach in the country.
Right.
To come
LeVar
here
Woods,
after being at Iowa for a long time. So
yeah.
I think that again,
beating Michigan State twice there on special teams.
Yes, and again, I think if you are around, you can just feel. I know you told me the story about him being around, after the Sherman Lewis repass, and how people were asking him questions and how they were
guys
just
from the
drawn to him.
'60s. They got canes. They want to get out there and play.
No, I always tell a story, and I tell people if he asked me to play one play, knowing what it would do to me, I would try, just because that's the kind of effect that he has on you.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I got a question here, and I don't know if this is someone who is watching us on YouTube. You are. Hello. Or someone who just curious because they know we talk about this on a regular basis. What is Jay wearing today?
What am I wearing today? I got on I'm representing the Block S with Coach Perlis. I got on a regular MSU with the
Spartan head logo with the Nike swoosh.
With the swoosh. Got on some gray shorts with the Spartan head and then the swoosh on the other side. And then some green MSU Nikes.
Now, I see you're wearing a T-shirt, a white T-shirt, of course. And is that for sweat absorption?
Yeah, big guys, you know, when they get hot like this, we sweat, and I don't like my shirt sticking to me, so I just
wear a T-shirt.
Revert back to my childhood when we all wore T-shirts under our shirts. So, yes.
You were not out at Moneyball for either of the sessions a week ago, right?
No.
So which player intrigues you the most? You can't tell everything from Moneyball. We know that. But you can tell a few things. You can get some ideas of what you might see during the regular season, and you have a great chance to get to know the players because they're all accessible. They sign autographs, pose for pictures, say hello. You can start to develop friendship with some of them. But what are you most curious about the rest of the Moneyball campaign?
Not really the Moneyball campaign because, like you said, you really can't tell much from Moneyball because there's not a lot of structure, and I think it's more kind of a fan thing than it is, you know, more than anything. Of course, it gets competitive, I feel like, at some point.
The other night, Cam Ward and Jesse McCullough were going to throw down. It was great, and they were like hitting each other in the head, and they were going one-on-one, and they clear out. Everybody else, you know, you're out of the gym. That was fascinating.
No, it will get. Look, when you're an athlete, you gonna compete.
Yeah.
No matter what the situation is, you're gonna compete. So, but I just don't. You know, guys don't go like they would if it's a Big Ten championship game or it's a Elite 8 game. You know, so I think again it's more for fans who may not get a chance to see them, you know, during the regular season because tickets are, you know, kind of hard to get sometimes. So I think that's how I look at it. So being able to tell from Moneyball, not so much. But to answer your question, I'm interested to see what Caleb Glenn is. I saw him for the first time in person and was just impressed by his physical makeup. I didn't know he was that. The newcomers, I'm interested to see what the big guys do. Yeah. More so the transfer than the freshmen because I know freshmen kind of, you know, go through their thing. But the transfer, I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do.
Sure.
And some of the freshmen, Carlos Matlock.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what he's going to do.
Jervis looks terrific.
Yes, he looks good.
Yeah.
And they
Julius Avent.
And I feel like they all kind of have their moments to show why they wanted them here. So.
And Ethan Bonk, you watch him and you know why they're paying him.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's very agile. I think he can shoot from the outside. Maybe not. He's not Steph Curry, but he can make open shots from the outside. So I'm interested. I think we have a great mix of young guys and older guys that I think will bode well for us.
Maybe it's just the off season, Jay, but the number one topic of conversation among Spartan fans right now is the turnover and turmoil in the administration with departures or maybe not in terms of the president and athletic director, interims or permanent choices. I've heard so many different options here, different plug-and-play pieces could be a long search, could be something that isn't permanent until they have a permanent president. You're not going to have an interim president name a permanent AD. So when you look at this, what do you think the chances are that Michigan State has a president and an AD that we've never heard of, we don't know their names, by Christmas?
Man, that's way above my pay grade, and I can't even think that high. So, but as far as both of them, I could see maybe one, but anything is possible. I think that's you might hire a president who already has an AD in mind, and it might be a package deal.
Quick.
So I think anything is possible.
Yeah.
As far as how possible I think it is, 50-50.
Yeah.
I'll go with the safe bet, 50-50.
I think it's certainly possible. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but do not close the door. Do not close the door on Kevin Guskiewicz staying at Michigan State. I think Jay Batt to Kentucky is a done deal. He's going to be making $3 million a year. He's already talking about Champions Blue. He's not going to be the AD. He's going to be the CEO. And then, by the way, he's also going to be the AD, but somebody else is going to handle that. Somewhat like John Palumbo is done at Michigan State. He's brought in to basically run the department. So now we have Spartan Ventures. Can you explain Spartan Ventures?
No. all I know is some kind of, from what it sounds to me, it's a collective that I know that Mr. Williams donated a substantial amount to, and it's supposed to be for athletics. As far as the specifics, no, I can't tell you what the specifics are.
I think $100 million of the $401 million gift from Greg and Dawn Williams was to Spartan Ventures. The other 301 were elsewhere at the university.
Sparty got $1 million. I remember that.
$1 million.
Sparty got
$1 million. So that still leaves 400.
Yes.
But there's a nonprofit and a for-profit part of this, and it gets a little complicated. We don't have time to go through all the nuances of it. Maybe we'll do that another time. But it could put Michigan State on some different footing in terms of the way that decisions were made. Michigan State had the reputation of being an aircraft carrier. Very slow to respond, very difficult to turn around. And the idea is that you need to be much more nimble and flexible in this day and age. So, if that is successful, and then we can get into the specific parts of it, some of the ideas, some of them, I think most fans would say that's a great idea. Others would get some resistance. I know one in particular involving campus would get some resistance. But it's going to be fun to watch this evolve over the next few months. And before Pat Fitzgerald's first football game, we're going to know a lot about the direction of Michigan State athletics.
No, and it would be great to know if we have a president and an athletic director by then.
And I think, Jay, as we both know, when football wins,
everybody wins. Yes.
It's the ultimate deodorant. No matter how bad you stink, football wins and everything else starts to smell better.
And I think that's why Coach Izzo pushes so much for football to be successful, because he understands that.
Yeah. What are you doing this weekend?
Granddad duty. I'm gonna go to Flint on Saturday.
You are such a dedicated grandfather.
Well, I had
me feel really guilty.
I had a dedicated grandfather, so it's only right that I follow suit. So I'm gonna go to Flint for a couple hours, get some food, come back before it gets dark, and live in peace.
It's a stress-free life to be Jay Green.
Yes.
I'll tell you that. All right. And we want to thank all of our guests today. And this is our last show of the week. Rob, we're taking tomorrow off, right? Celebrating the 4th on the 3rd. And then next week, it's going to be the Drive with Rob on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
That's the plan.
I will be back on Friday. And Jay, you'll be here next Friday.
Yes.
But, I'm going to be gone for 8 days. And this is only the 4th time in the last 25 years, 4th time in the last 25 years that I have been gone more than 7 days.
Well, have a tremendous time. You deserve it.
Yeah.
Great time with your family. And going to Massachusetts for a little bit, never a bad thing.
Yeah, we're going to start there. I have never seen Harvard University, but I am going to on Saturday.
Okay.
And then we're headed westward, and I think we're going to spend some time at Niagara Falls. The grandkids are all excited about that. And so we're going to have fun, and then we'll be back toward the end of next week, and then they'll be here, but I'll be back doing shows. So looking forward to that, and wish you all a terrific holiday weekend. We want to thank Tony Garcia from the Detroit Free Press, the newlywed, on his honeymoon. Can you believe that? doing this show on his honeymoon. That is dedication, ladies and gentlemen. Vince Nystrom. That name sounds familiar. It should. From Uncle Buck. And does a lot of analytical work, talking about basketball schedules in Michigan State with by far, the hardest Big Ten schedule this year, not just because it has a home and home with Michigan. And also talking about the greatest turnarounds. And with one more year, Curt Cignetti will be eligible. He may be number one on that list. Jim Cotter, former MSU Director of Admissions, outstanding pitcher, and does an awful lot and will continue to do so in different roles. Jeff Kohler, Jackson's dad. Jim Stark, our Detroit correspondent. Scott Berman and Kurt Kwiatkowski from One North. Have a great weekend.